What's up guys, TopTierYugioh here, and YCS Minneapolis is currently in its final stages. The finals are going on right now, but we do have the top 32, and so we're going to break that down, analyze the meta for this tournament, as well as what it'll look like going forward after ABCs come out next week. So let's go ahead and get it. Okay, so the top 32 of YCS Minneapolis was 8 Blue Eyes, 6 Metalfoes, but it is a Metalfoes mirror in the finals right now, so Metalfoes will win the event. Then there were 6 Majespecters, 5 Burning Abyss PK Fire, 2 Kozmo, 1 Lightsworn, 1 Mermail, 1 Infernoid, 1 Burning Abyss Monarchs, and 1 Pure Phantom Knight. And so we all knew that Blue Eyes is going to be the best deck going into the event, and it seems that the Galaxy version is the more dominant build right now. I don't think there are any ritual builds. There might be, but correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're all Galaxy or standard builds. Metalfoes are one of the other big 3 decks going into the event. I think most people expected Blue Eyes, Metalfoes, and PK Fire, but Majespecters are taking a lot of people off guard because of Ties of the Brethren. So Ties of the Brethren is really good at Majespecters, and that if you summon one Majespecter, like a level 4 one, you're gonna get that search. When you activate Ties of the Brethren, you summon 2 other ones, you get those 2 searches, and you set all 3 of your traps, and you win, because it's going to be really hard to break that board. And it's only a 2-card combo. And so Majespecters were a nice surprise to some players. I ran them last week at my regional, and like it's a really good deck. It's very legit, and I definitely see it being a big player in the meta going forward. So it's definitely something to look out for if you have an event in the next few weeks. Next we have Burning Abyss, PK Fire. Again, it's one of the big 3 decks. We expected it to do well. Next we have 2 Kozmos. Of those 2 Kozmo decks, one was the Card of Demise build, one was the Fire King build. I personally prefer the Fire King build, but Card of Demise is still very good in the deck. And then for the decks that we have one of, these are all decks that are still very, very strong, but they're just maybe one peg below the other decks. And I also include Kozmo in this list. So like when thinking of like the top decks right now, I think of Blue Eyes, Metalfoes, Majespecters, and PK Fire. The next tier is Kozmo, Lightsworn, Mermail, Infernoid, Burning Abyss Monarchs, or any Monarch variant, Phantom Knight, and a few decks that I did add are Herald, Heroes, and DDDs. And I'm talking about even DDDs right now without the Pendulum Domination structure deck are still good enough to compete with the meta. Like they're not one of the best decks, they're not topping the YCS obviously, but they are good enough on a regional level. And if more people played them, I do think they would have had a chance to maybe get one person in top 32. I think they're good enough for that at least. Lightsworn I think has the potential to be even better, but the only thing holding Lightsworn back is its representation. And so the Lightsworn Minerva Turbo is actually really, really good. It's so strong. Like look up a video. I'll maybe link one in the description on the screen right now. But it can make these massive boards, and it's just so good. And the only problem with it is that, you know, not that many people have Minerva, and you need at least 2 Minervas for the deck to play at its maximum potential. And so if you have access to Minerva, I do think that Lightsworn is a very viable deck. Oh, one thing I almost forgot to mention was that Jeff Jones almost got top 32 with Dark Magicians. I think he ended up in 34th place. He went X2, which is really good for Dark Magicians, but it is Jeff Jones we're talking about. And so if you're thinking about picking up the deck and the prices go up, I would definitely recommend waiting until the prices go back down, because the deck isn't any better because Jeff Jones almost top 32'd with it. Jeff Jones is just a really good player, and he does this all the time with bad decks. And not that Dark Magicians are bad, but they're definitely not, you know, on the level of the other decks in the top 32, or any of the other decks that didn't make the top 32 that I also mentioned, such as Herald, Heroes, and DDDs. But I do think Dark Magicians are like a good fun deck. They're fun. And so now that we've talked about the meta for YCS Minneapolis, we know what topped, we know sort of what the best decks are, some of the second tier decks. Let's talk about what decks are going to be good going forward, and what you should be looking for in the future. Because what tends to happen is whatever tops the YCS, that's what people will continue on playing. And so if you have an event after this weekend, I would expect more Blue Eyes, more Metalfoes, more BA, and especially more Majespecters. But ABCs come out this weekend, and so I would also expect a lot of ABCs. Those are actually going to be the top 5 decks going forward. Blue Eyes, ABCs, Metalfoes, Burning Abyss, and Majespecters. And I would think that they're all going to be relatively equal, with Blue Eyes maybe slightly being the best deck. And so because the major difference is ABCs, some good side deck choices for them are System Down, Ghost Reaper Winter Cherries, Flying Sea is actually pretty good, Max Sea is good, Light Imprisoning Mirror, Imperial Iron Wall, Chaos Hunter, Macro Cosmos, Banisher of the Radiance. ABCs need to get their monsters in the graveyard so they can banish them to summon ABC Buster Dragon. So anything that kind of stops them from doing that really hurts their strategy a lot. They also play a lot of back row usually, and so Twin Twisters is good, Cosmic Cyclone. And so there are a lot of cards that are going to be pretty good against ABCs. I think one thing that sort of led to Majespecter's success is probably the lack of Twin Twisters in a lot of main decks. If you're looking at the top decks right now, aside from Majespecters, Blue Eyes don't really play that many back row. Metalfoes aren't weak to Twin Twisters. Burning Abyss is sort of like, Burning Abyss plays traps, but it's not like Twin Twisters is amazing against them because Fog Blade can just activate in the graveyard anyways. And so just looking at the top 3 decks, like Twin Twisters isn't very strong against them, so a lot of players just weren't playing them at all, or playing only 2 or even 1. However, that really gave Majespecters sort of free reign because they do play a lot of traps. So I think Majespecters will sort of change that trend now, and also with ABCs playing a lot of traps. And so with people starting to play Twin Twisters more because of ABCs and Majespecters, I do see Majespecters having a little bit of a falling out. Like they still will be a really good deck, definitely topping a lot of events, but I don't see them as equal with Metalfoes. Mainly just because their ceiling is lower, they're weaker to back row removal, and they're not very good going second. So it's like they have to go first and then like open your combo or open up a lot of traps and Kieran or Unicorn, whereas Metalfoes can kind of win in any situation. So I do think Metalfoes is a better deck than Majespecters. And I also think PK Fire is better than Majespecters as well. So I'm not saying that Majespecters isn't a good deck, but I think that is a good meta call. But usually meta calls aren't sustainable. And so that's it for this video, guys. I just wanted to give you a quick heads up on what was going on at the YCS, and then also maybe what to look forward to in the future if you have an event coming up in the next couple of weeks. So let me know what you think. And I do want to give a shout out to my friend Joel White. He's a subscriber to this YouTube channel. He often comments. He is fighting for a YCS championship right now in the finals. So let's all give him our strength and our power. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.